All right, let's see what's new in the audio world here. Oh, interesting. Waves has a new subscription service. I guess that's cool. That's another option to be able to buy their plugs since everybody uses their stuff. Let's see. As of March 26, 2023, Waves Creative Access subscriptions are the only way to get Waves plugins? What the f***? Hey guys, it's Steve from Featherlight Studio, and I'm sure as a lot of you have heard by now, Waves Plugins has added a subscription model to their business sort of overall pricing plan. And this affects a lot of users, us included, because we just updated our Waves Update plan. So the WUP is going to cover us supposedly for the next year. Well, that is some cause for concern because if you've updated all your plugs and you want them to work with, a current OS, for example, like Monterey or Ventura if you're on a Mac, or Windows 11 if you're on, a PC, that's a pretty big concern. And this is obviously a pretty big pitch from Waves. They want to cash in on that subscription service, money pool that so many other people like Universal Audio and Slate and all those people are cashing in on. So I get that part of it, but I think the biggest concern here is the fact that it's going to impact so many people that were on the Waves Update plan in the first place and how it treats that user base. It's a little shocking. So let's dive in and find out a bit more about the new Creative Access subscription plan from Waves and see if it really is going to be a cause for some concern, if it's a benefit to us, or if the people that just re-upped their Waves Update plan just lose out altogether. Let's find out. When you first get onto the Waves website, you can see the pitch for the new subscription service called Creative Access, and it's broken down into two tiers. One's Waves Essential and one is Waves Ultimate. If you click the annual monthly tab up here, you can see what that ends up being per year. If we click on the Waves Essential page and we scroll down to what's actually included, we can get an overview of all the plugs that they're going to include in this first of the subscription tiers, and it doesn't take much before you figure out that most of the plugins in this particular category, while there are a few exceptions, are pretty much a lot of the earlier Waves plugins. There's some of the combo stuff in there, but by and large, the bulk of these plugins you probably can already duplicate in your own DAW. And while this is a good, well-rounded group of plugins that can do most of the duties you're going to need in your basic plugin selection, you're not going to get access to a lot of the better-known Waves top-tier plugs or any of the big bundle plugs. So this affects a ton of people, and those effects are going to be far-reaching. And how they went about it maybe could have been a little bit better thought out. It seems like this is sort of a knee-jerk reaction to a subscription sort of model. They could have given a grace period, for example, or their user base that isn't on the Waves Update plan a chance to get on it and at least get upgraded to all the current plugins, and then they could make an informed decision about whether or not they want to join the Creative Access subscription or if they want to continue just having their perpetual licenses. There was a lot of options here that could have been a whole lot better thought out. If we navigate back to the two-tier choice and instead we click on the Waves Ultimate package, we can see what's included in this particular bundle, and here you'll find the complete Waves library with all of your top tier and specialty plugins. In the top tier subscription service, you're going to see everything from their high-priced bundle plugins to their artist series plugins, specialty vintage plugins, as well as their higher-end instrument plugins, all their VSTIs, things like the LUFS meter and the Waves Tune. There's a lot of stuff in here. It represents the entire Waves library, and it's very comprehensive. Project archiving and project compatibility becomes a gigantic issue. So if you're a mixing room or a tracking room, that kind of thing, and you need to open up a project you did months ago, and you don't have those same plugs in your subscription tier, or you're using a different company or whatever, it's entirely possible that those aren't going to be operational. And clients don't like to hear that. They don't want excuses about how you don't have the same plugin subscription tier or model or whatever. All they want to hear from you is that their stuff is safe and secure and they can open it back up and make changes when they need to and move on and continue to work. So this is a big consideration for all of us, and having to constantly mix down all of our stems or commit those choices to renders, especially when it comes to things like VSTIs. The instruments themselves are not just whether a particular reverb is going to be on that track or a particular kind of compression, but the actual instrument itself, the sound producing instrument itself. In our case, the perpetual license works a lot better because we have direct control over what happens to those plugs when we turn on our gear every single morning and go to work. And this is a big deal. Upping your subscription may not seem like that much of a concern. And I think most of the companies look at it like that. Like, well, it's no big deal. $24, a month isn't that big of a deal. But our universe doesn't circulate around just waves. If you add up all the subscriptions that we have for all of our audio products, it's getting substantial. So that one subscription by itself, not that big of a deal. 50 of those subscription services is a big deal, and it starts to add up dramatically. If we navigate to the facts sections, we can get more information and clarification about all the latest subscription changes and how that's going to affect your specific Waves plan. Specifically things like, is Waves Creative Access the only way to get Waves plugins now? Once you expand this, you can see that's pretty clear. As of March 27th, 2023, Waves Creative Access subscription are the only way to get Waves plugins. Under the question, newly released plugins being added to my subscription at no extra cost, this is a particularly interesting response here. They answer yes, but then also include a note that says new plugins will be added to both Waves Essential and Ultimate, but more frequently to Waves Ultimate. So this already gives you kind of an idea of where they're headed and which user base they plan on supporting the most. There's lots of other important info here in the facts section, so it's a good read. It covers things like subscription terms and grace periods and what happens if you miss a payment, so definitely worth a look to familiarize yourself with how it's going to impact you. So it has to be said that if you're just building your plugin library and you're a student just starting out or you're new to mixing, this is obviously a huge resource, and big companies like Universal Audio's new programs and McDSP and Plugin Alliance and Slate Digital all give you access to their most expensive and comprehensive plugin libraries for a monthly fee, and this is a huge resource for people who need access to those things right away, but maybe not over a long period of time. I think where this is going to impact the most amount of people are those that already have an extensive investment into the Waves catalog, especially people like the Mercury bundle owners and things like that, and those Waves users that were considering re-upping their Waves update plan to get the latest support for newer processors on the Mac side, all the Mac Silicon processors. That's a big consideration for people who have a lot invested in those systems. Now, the option to go ahead and do a Waves update plan for this last version 14 and then choose to stay there or get a subscription in the future is no longer available to any of us. So the Waves universe is a big one. There's a ton of people out there that use it. I don't know any of the mix or production houses or tracking houses we work with directly on a daily basis that don't have some kind of Waves plugins. They're dependable daily tools that are always in our mixes and in our productions. And it's because they work and they're stable. And they do, they do one thing really, really well. Some of the combination plugins are even very good. So we're all pretty familiar with how this works, and it impacts all of us. So the way they went about it, I think, is the issue here. The fact that the Waves update plan is just going to immediately get canceled, and your only option, is simply to go to the subscription service. That's a bit heavy-handed. And when companies start making big, kind of knee-jerk moves like this without really considering its impact on the user base, that's always a cause for some concern, especially if you look at companies that have done that kind of reactionary marketing in the past, like Guitar Center and places like that. It does sort of make you pause and wonder, is there some issue with the company? Are they having financial trouble? Are they about to get bought out? These kinds of big, sweeping, sort of knee-jerk changes are always some kind of cause for, concern. So I hope that's not the case here for Waves. It's a great company. Lots of great people work for it, and they produce great products. So that's all great. So clearly this is going to affect a lot of studios' workflows. Writers, mixers, producers, so many kinds of facilities are going to be affected by this choice of only being able to use subscriptions from this point forward. So it's not just us, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions about it and how it's going to affect your workflow in the future as well. It's a pretty big change for us because those perpetual licenses were a stability issue for us. We knew that every morning we could come in, turn our stuff on, and we were ready to go, and our clients loved that as well. So being forced to only use one other option is really the issue here. And I guess it'll be up to Waves to determine whether or not they step back with some perspective and maybe introduce their subscription service with a few more options so it doesn't alienate quite so much of their user base. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Stay safe, be creative, add something creative to the world. It could really use it. We'll catch you guys in the next video.